The night was cold and silent. The forest stood tall around Daniel's small wooden cabin, every tree a black shadow against the silver glow of the moon. The air carried a sharp chill that made every breath turn into mist. Daniel sat near the fireplace, his loyal dog Luna lying at his feet. The fire cracked softly, the only sound in the room. Outside, the world seemed asleep. Yet Daniel felt a strange weight pressing on him, as if the night itself was waiting for something to happen. Luna lifted her head, ears sharp, eyes fixed on the door. A low growl rumbled in her throat. Daniel frowned. He trusted Luna's instincts more than anything. She was not the kind of dog to bark at shadows. When she sensed danger, there was always a reason. Slowly, Daniel rose from his chair and walked to the door. He opened it. Cold wind rushed in, carrying the scent of pine and frost. The forest was still, yet something felt wrong. Luna padded forward, her paws light against the wooden floor, her body tense. Then it came. A whisper. Soft. Fragile. Like the voice of a child. Daniel froze. His heart pounded hard in his chest. The voice was not carried by wind. It was not the rustle of leaves. It was something else. The whisper repeated. Clearer this time. The words formed with pain. We were bad. Mom left us. Daniel felt his blood run cold. He looked at Luna, and she looked back at him. Her eyes shone with fear, but also with courage. She growled again, her body ready to protect. Daniel stepped outside. The ground crunched under his boots. He scanned the trees, searching for the source of the voice. Nothing moved, yet the forest felt alive. The stars above seemed to lean closer, as if they too were listening. The whisper came again. This time it was not one voice, but two. Two voices, broken and trembling, rising together. We were bad. Mom left us. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He had lived near this forest for years, and never once had he heard anything like this. He whispered to himself, Children? Yet deep inside he knew the truth. These were no ordinary children. Luna barked once, sharp and loud. She darted forward, stopping just at the edge of the trees. Her fur bristled, but she did not run. She waited, looking back at Daniel, urging him to follow. Daniel's body trembled, not from the cold but from the weight of the moment. Every instinct told him to stay inside, to shut the door and pretend nothing was out there. Yet something stronger pulled him forward. A voice inside his heart. A voice that said, If they are lost, they need you. He tightened his coat around his shoulders and stepped into the forest. The night swallowed him whole. The silence was thick. Only the crunch of his boots and Luna's steady steps broke it. Every tree seemed to lean closer, every shadow seemed alive. The whisper returned, floating between the branches like a ghost. We only wanted her to love us. We tried to be good. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The pain in those voices cut through the darkness like a knife. They were not monsters. They were lost. Lonely. Abandoned. He called out, his voice steady though his heart raced. Who are you? Where are you? For a moment there was silence. Then two faint figures appeared between the trees. Small. Fragile. They glowed with a faint silver light that shimmered against the darkness. Their eyes shone like deep pools of stars, far too ancient for the bodies they wore. Daniel stopped, his breath caught in awe and fear. Luna growled softly, but did not attack. Her body lowered, ready but calm, as if she sensed the truth. The figures stepped closer. They were twins. Their faces looked almost human, yet not fully. Their skin shimmered faintly, their movements gentle and unsure. They looked at Daniel with eyes full of sorrow. The first twin whispered, Do not hurt us. The second twin added, We only want to live. Daniel's world shifted in that single moment. The night was no longer silent. The forest was no longer empty. And his life, once quiet and ordinary, had crossed into something greater. He stared at them, and they stared back. The fire inside his cabin still glowed in the distance, but Daniel knew there was no turning back. The cold night had given birth to a truth he could not ignore. 2 voices. 2 children. Abandoned. Whispering their pain into the darkness. And a man, with his loyal dog, standing at the edge of something far beyond human understanding. The forest held its breath. The stars burned brighter. And Daniel whispered softly, almost to himself, "You are not alone anymore." The twins lifted their heads. For the first time, hope flickered in their eyes. The night had changed. The story of man, dog, and alien children had begun. The forest was silent, yet every branch seemed alive with hidden energy. Daniel stood still, his breath caught between fear and wonder. Luna pressed closer to his side, her eyes locked on the 2 glowing figures that had stepped out from the shadows. The twins looked fragile, almost like children lost in the dark. Their bodies shimmered faintly, casting a silver glow on the frozen ground. Their eyes were deep and unending, like the night sky filled with stars. They did not blink. They only watched him with quiet fear. Daniel felt his heart pound. He had seen many things in his life, but nothing like this. They looked human, yet not human. They looked like children, yet carried the weight of something older than time. The first twin raised a trembling hand. Its fingers were thin, glowing softly as if made of light and bone. The voice that came from its lips was fragile, almost breaking apart. "Do not hurt us." The second twin stepped forward, eyes wide with sorrow. "We only want to live." Daniel felt a sharp ache in his chest. These were not predators. They were not demons. They were children, lost and abandoned in a world that was not theirs. He took a slow step forward, his voice gentle but firm. "I will not harm you." Luna wagged her tail once, though her body remained tense. She lowered her head, sniffing the air around them. The twins flinched at the movement, their silver glow pulsing brighter for a moment. Daniel raised his hand, calming Luna with a soft whisper. "It is all right, girl. Stay calm." The forest seemed to lean closer, listening. Even the wind had stilled. The twins exchanged a glance. Their lips moved, whispering words in a language Daniel could not understand. The sound was strange, like starlight turned into music, but filled with fear. Then they turned back to him, and the first twin spoke again in broken human speech. "We were told we are wrong. We were told we are broken. Mother left us behind." The words cut deep into Daniel's heart. He remembered his own childhood, the nights he had spent alone, waiting for a father who never came home. The pain in their voices was not alien. It was human. He knelt down, lowering himself so he did not tower over them. "Listen to me," he said softly. "You are not broken. You are not wrong. You are here now, and I see you." The twins tilted their heads, confused but curious. Their silver eyes softened, though fear still lingered. One of them reached out, trembling, but stopped before touching his hand. Luna chose that moment to step forward. She sniffed their glowing fingers, her tail giving a slow wag. Then, with the simple honesty only a dog could offer, she licked the hand of the smaller twin. The twins gasped in wonder. Their glow brightened, flickering like a heartbeat. For the first time, Daniel saw something new in their eyes. A spark. Not just fear. Not just sorrow. But the smallest seed of trust. They whispered together, voices blending as one. "She does not hate us." Daniel smiled, though his throat felt tight. "No. She does not. And neither do I." The forest released a quiet sigh, as if the trees themselves eased their breath. The moonlight shone brighter, bathing them in silver light. Daniel felt the moment shift. Something fragile had been born here, something worth protecting. He stood slowly and extended his hand. "Come with me. You are not safe out here." The twins hesitated. They looked at each other, their star-filled eyes searching for an answer. Then, as if sharing a silent decision, they stepped closer. Their small glowing hands touched his rough human palm. The touch was warm. Not the warmth of flesh, but the warmth of energy, of life itself. Daniel's heart pounded, yet he did not pull away. He squeezed gently, guiding them forward. Luna barked once, not in warning but in welcome, as if declaring that the twins were now part of their pack. The sound echoed through the trees, bold and clear. Together, they walked back toward the cabin. Each step carried weight. Each moment carried meaning. Daniel knew this night had changed everything. He had not just found lost children. He had found something greater, something that might alter the fate of more than just his quiet life. When they reached the edge of the forest, Daniel glanced at the twins once more. Their glow dimmed slightly, as if they were tired, but their eyes never left him. The fear was still there, but behind it was a fragile thread of hope. He whispered, more to himself than to them, "You are not alone anymore." The twins lowered their heads, as if those words reached deeper than anything they had ever known. One of them whispered back, almost too soft to hear, "Home." Daniel felt the word settle into his chest like a promise. He led them inside, the warmth of the cabin wrapping around all of them. The fire still glowed, waiting. Luna curled by the door, her eyes watchful but calm. The twins stood near the fire, their silver light dancing with the flames. They looked around with wonder, touching the wooden walls, the simple table, the warm air itself. For the first time, they were not whispering their sorrow into the cold night. They were standing in a place that might give them peace. Daniel knew this was only the beginning. He had opened his door to the unknown, and now he carried a responsibility far greater than himself. But as he watched the twins sit down near the fire, their small bodies trembling with exhaustion and relief, he felt no regret. The cold night had given him two fragile souls. And he had given them something they had never known before. A chance to belong. The cabin was quiet, except for the crackling of firewood. The twins sat near the flames, their silver glow mixing with the warm orange light. Their small hands clutched each other tightly, as if afraid they would vanish if they let go. Luna rested by the door, her eyes open and watchful, her breathing slow and steady. Daniel poured warm milk into 2 cups. He placed them gently on the table, careful not to startle the children. The twins watched his every move, their eyes wide, their bodies tense. They did not reach for the cups until Luna walked closer and sniffed at them. Only then, with slow movements, did they bring the cups to their lips. Daniel sat across from them, his hands folded together. He studied their faces, wondering what they had seen, what they had suffered. He wanted to ask, yet he feared the answers. Still, he knew silence would not heal them. Finally, in a soft voice, he said, "Tell me, what happened to you?" The twins lowered their heads. For a long moment, they did not speak. The fire popped, and outside the wind carried a hollow whistle through the trees. Then, the smaller twin whispered, "We were made to please her. We tried to be good. But she said we were wrong." Daniel's chest tightened. His eyes stayed fixed on them, his voice steady. "Who is she?" The older twin lifted his gaze. His silver eyes reflected sorrow so deep it seemed endless. "Our mother. The one who created us." His voice cracked. "She told us we were mistakes. She left us behind. She said only the strong may return to her. We were weak." Daniel felt his fists clench. He forced his hands to relax, not wanting to frighten them. He had heard of cruelty, but to hear it spoken by children in voices trembling with grief cut him deeper than any wound. The smaller twin's lips trembled. Tears, glowing faintly like liquid light, slid down her cheeks. "We begged her. We told her we would be better. But she turned away. She said we were shadows, not worthy of her love. Then she cast us out. She said the world would eat us, and it was better that way." Luna whimpered softly and pressed closer to them. The twins reached down, their glowing fingers brushing through her fur. For a brief moment, they smiled faintly at her warmth, but the pain in their eyes never left. Daniel leaned forward, his voice low but strong. "Listen to me. You are not mistakes. You are not shadows. You are alive, and that means you matter." The twins looked at him with confusion. The older one whispered, "Alive means nothing if no one wants you." Daniel's throat tightened. He thought of his own childhood. He remembered nights when his father's anger filled the house, when his mother's silence cut deeper than any words. He remembered standing alone in the dark, wondering if he mattered at all. He took a slow breath, his voice heavy with memory. I know what it feels like to be unwanted. I know the emptiness of waiting for someone to come back, and they never do. I know what it is to feel small and broken. But I learned something. Being unwanted does not mean you have no worth. It means the people who turned away were too blind to see it. The twins stared at him, their eyes searching for truth. Their glow flickered, like a candle flame caught in the wind. Daniel reached out his hand across the table. You have worth. I see it. Luna sees it. And you are not alone anymore. The smaller twin's hand shook as she reached forward. Slowly, carefully, she placed her glowing fingers on his rough human palm. The warmth that flowed from her touch was strange but gentle. The older twin followed, placing his hand beside hers. For the first time, they let themselves lean on someone who would not push them away. The fire burned brighter, filling the cabin with light. Daniel's eyes grew wet, but he did not hide it. The twins needed to see his truth, not a mask. The smaller twin whispered again, her voice trembling with hope and fear. Will you leave us too? Daniel shook his head firmly. No. I will not leave you. Not while I live. The words hung heavy in the air, not as a promise of kindness, but as a vow. The twins held his hand tighter, and the glow around their bodies warmed instead of shivering cold. For the first time since they had spoken of their mother, the twins closed their eyes and rested. Their bodies leaned against each other, heads drooping, their silver light dimming as sleep claimed them. Daniel sat still, letting them rest in peace. His hand remained open on the table where their fingers had touched. Luna curled at his feet, her eyes still watchful. The cabin was no longer just a shelter. Tonight, it had become something more. It had become a place of healing, a place of truth. The pain of the twins had been laid bare, and though the scars would never vanish, Daniel had given them something their mother never had. A reason to believe they were not worthless. Outside, the forest sighed with the wind. The stars burned brighter in the sky. And within the cabin, 3 broken lives had begun to weave themselves into something whole. Morning came quietly. The forest was wrapped in mist, the trees standing tall like silent watchers. Inside the cabin, the fire had burned low, leaving only warm embers that glowed faintly in the hearth. Daniel sat in his chair, his eyes half closed from a sleepless night. The twins were curled on a blanket near the fireplace, their silver glow soft and steady as they slept. Luna lay beside them, her head resting protectively on her paws, her body still and calm. Daniel studied the scene with quiet wonder. Only a single night had passed, and yet everything had changed. These 2 fragile beings had walked into his world, carrying sorrow heavier than any child should bear. And now they rested under his roof, as if his cabin was the only safe place left in existence. The smaller twin stirred. Her eyes blinked open, glowing faintly as they adjusted to the light. She looked at Luna first, then at Daniel. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. Instead, she reached out with a trembling hand and touched Luna's fur. Luna wagged her tail gently, the sound soft against the wooden floor. She lifted her head and licked the twin's hand with a slow, warm motion. The twin gasped, pulling back for a moment, then leaned forward again, her glowing fingers brushing against Luna's ear. A faint smile appeared on her face. The older twin woke as well, his eyes filled with caution. He sat up, watching the scene carefully. Daniel noticed the fear in his posture, the way he stayed tense even in the calm morning light. Luna will not harm you, Daniel said softly. She protects the people she loves. The boy tilted his head, his voice heavy with doubt. She loves us? Daniel nodded. She already does. She knows you are not dangerous. She knows you are only lost. Luna stood and walked closer to the boy. She sniffed his glowing hands, then pressed her nose gently against his palm. For a moment, he froze, unsure of what to do. Then his fingers closed slowly, stroking the fur along her neck. A sound broke from his lips, half gasp and half laugh. It was a sound that had not belonged to him for a long time. Daniel smiled. See? She accepts you. That means you are family now. The twins looked at each other, their silver eyes wide with wonder. They whispered in their strange language, their voices like soft music. Then the girl turned back to Daniel. Family. We do not know this word. Daniel's chest tightened. He leaned forward, his voice firm but gentle. Family means you are never alone. Family means someone will fight for you, even when the world turns against you. Family means you belong. The twins fell silent. Their glowing eyes searched his face, as if trying to measure the truth in his words. Then, slowly, they nodded. The boy whispered, We want this. We want family. Daniel's throat tightened, but he forced his voice to remain steady. Then you have it. From this moment you are part of mine. Luna barked once, sharp but joyful, as if sealing the promise. She circled the twins, wagging her tail, then lay down again, her head resting between them. The children leaned into her warmth, their bodies relaxing against her soft fur. For the first time since Daniel had found them, the fear in their eyes began to fade. Later that morning, Daniel cooked eggs and bread. The twins watched every step, fascinated by the simple act of food being made. They had eaten the night before, but this was different. This was not survival. This was care. As they ate, Luna stayed by their side. She nudged them with her nose when they hesitated, as if urging them to take another bite. They laughed softly, their voices like faint bells, and fed her small pieces of bread in return. Daniel watched with quiet pride. He had tried with words, but it was Luna who had given them the first real gift of trust. Not through promises. Not through explanations. Through touch, warmth, and unconditional acceptance. The dog had done what no human could. She had opened the door to their hearts. That night, when the fire once again lit the cabin, the twins did not huddle close only to each other. They sat with Luna between them, their glowing hands resting on her fur. Daniel sat nearby, watching, knowing that something sacred had begun. The girl whispered as her eyes grew heavy with sleep. She is our sister. Daniel nodded, though they did not see. Yes, he said softly. She is your sister. The boy's voice followed, weak but filled with something new. And you? You are our father. Daniel's heart shook. He had never expected such words. He stared at them, his vision blurring as tears filled his eyes. He wanted to answer, but his voice caught in his throat. The twins closed their eyes, drifting into sleep with Luna's warmth pressed close to their sides. Daniel leaned back, wiping his eyes with a rough hand. The fire glowed, painting the cabin in gold and silver. Outside, the forest stood in silence. The man, the dog, and the alien twins had taken their first step into something greater than survival. They had taken their first step into love. Days passed, and the cabin slowly changed. It had always been Daniel's quiet shelter, a place built for one man and his dog. Now it felt alive in a new way. The sound of soft voices, strange but beautiful, filled the air. The twins had begun to laugh. It was not the laughter of ordinary children, but it carried warmth that lit the room brighter than the fire itself. Daniel noticed small things. The boy would sit by the window for hours, staring at the forest with searching eyes, as if waiting for something he feared might return. The girl, gentler and more curious, touched everything in the cabin, running her glowing hands across wood and stone, fascinated by the texture of a human world. Luna became their guide. She showed them the rhythm of life, not through words but through her loyalty. She nudged them toward food when they hesitated. She barked sharply when they wandered too close to danger outside. At night she curled between them, her warmth steady, her heartbeat calm. The twins began to sleep without trembling. One evening, Daniel cooked stew. The smell of herbs and broth filled the room. The twins sat at the table, their glowing eyes wide as steam curled from the pot. Daniel placed bowls before them. The boy hesitated, his hand shaking slightly as he lifted the spoon. "Why do you give us this?" he asked. Daniel's voice was calm. "Because you are mine to care for now. You are my family. The boy lowered his eyes. His voice was a whisper. Family is a word we do not know. Daniel leaned forward. Family means you are wanted. Family means no one abandons you. It means even when you fail, you are still loved. The girl looked at him, her silver tears shining in the firelight. Mother said love is only for the strong. She said love must be earned. Daniel's voice grew firm, stronger than before. She was wrong. Love is not something you earn. Love is given. Love is chosen. And I choose you. The twins froze. The words wrapped around them like a blanket. Slowly, the boy lifted his spoon and took a bite. His glowing eyes softened. The girl followed, her lips trembling as she tasted food not given as a test, but as a gift. They ate in silence, but their faces told a story louder than words. It was the story of two children who had never been allowed to feel safe, now tasting safety for the first time. After the meal, the twins curled on the rug near the fire. Luna rested between them, her head on her paws. Daniel sat in his chair, watching with quiet pride. The boy leaned against Luna's back. The girl whispered softly, stroking the dog's ear. Then she looked up at Daniel. You are our father now. Daniel felt his heart stop for a moment. His throat tightened, and his hands trembled. He wanted to answer, but the words were heavy. He swallowed hard and nodded. Yes. I am. The boy closed his eyes, his voice faint but sure. Then we are not alone anymore. Daniel leaned forward, his voice filled with unshaken strength. Never again. The fire burned bright, reflecting in their silver eyes. For the first time since they had entered his life, Daniel saw no fear there. Instead, he saw belonging. The days that followed were filled with small miracles. The twins learned to feed the chickens outside the cabin, laughing when the birds flapped and pecked. They followed Daniel to the stream, their glowing hands dipping into the cold water with delight. They even began to speak more human words, their broken sentences growing stronger each day. Every step they took was fragile, but every step mattered. Daniel guided them with patience, teaching them the world of men, while Luna taught them trust. One night, as they sat by the fire, the girl asked a question that made Daniel pause. If we are family, does that mean we must protect each other? Daniel looked at her, then at the boy, who waited for his answer. He nodded firmly. Yes. That is what family does. We protect one another, no matter what comes. The boy's silver eyes shone with new light. Then we will protect you too. Daniel smiled, though deep inside he felt a chill. He knew danger would not stay away forever. Their past would find them. The forest itself seemed to whisper warnings at night. Yet as he looked at the twins, he felt a strength he had not known before. He was no longer a man alone with his dog. He was something greater. He was a father, with children who carried light in their veins and sorrow in their hearts. And now, together, they were more than their pain. They were a family. The forest had grown restless. Each night the air seemed heavier, as if the trees themselves carried secrets. The twins no longer laughed as freely. Sometimes, while the fire glowed inside the cabin, they would stop and look toward the window, their silver eyes wide with fear. Daniel noticed it. He felt it too, though he said nothing. Luna growled more often at the dark, her ears pricking at sounds only she could hear. Something was coming. One night the answer arrived. The wind howled, stronger than before, rattling the cabin walls. Luna stood at the door, teeth bared, her growl low and sharp. The twins huddled together, their glow flickering like candles in a storm. Daniel loaded his old rifle, his hands steady though his chest felt tight. A shadow crossed the moon outside. Then another. Shapes moved through the trees, tall and shifting, their forms more like smoke than flesh. Their eyes glowed faintly, cold and merciless. The twins gasped. The boy whispered, "They have come for us." Daniel's voice was firm. "Then they will find me in their way." He stepped outside. The cold air bit his skin, but his heart burned hot. Luna padded beside him, her growl rising into a bark that split the night. The shadows moved closer, their voices hissing through the wind. Give them back. They are ours. Daniel raised his rifle, his voice clear. They are not yours. They are mine now. The shadows laughed, a sound that shook the trees. You are only a man. How will you stand against us? Daniel's grip tightened. His eyes did not waver. Because I am a man. And that is enough. The first shadow lunged forward, its shape twisting like smoke with claws of black fire. Daniel fired. The sound cracked through the forest, the bullet tearing through the figure. It shrieked and dissolved, scattering like ashes on the wind. The twins cried out inside the cabin, their glow flaring with fear. Luna leapt forward, snapping at the second shadow, her teeth sinking into smoke that felt solid. The creature hissed and recoiled, but more gathered around them. Daniel fired again. Another fell. But there were too many. The shadows circled, their voices rising together. They do not belong with you. They are broken. They are weak. They are nothing. The twins stepped out of the cabin. Their small glowing bodies trembled, but their eyes burned with defiance. The boy shouted, his voice breaking. We are not nothing! The girl grasped his hand, and their glow brightened. The forest lit with silver light. Daniel turned toward them, his heart hammering. No! Stay back! But the twins shook their heads. The girl whispered, You told us family protects each other. Now we protect you. The shadows screamed, rushing forward in a wave. Daniel aimed again, but before he could fire, the twins raised their hands together. A surge of power erupted from their bodies. Silver light poured into the forest, blinding the night, scattering the darkness. The shadows shrieked as the light struck them, burning through their smoke. They twisted and writhed, dissolving into nothing. Daniel shielded his eyes, his breath caught in awe. The power was not destruction. It was life itself. The light carried warmth, the same warmth he had felt when they first touched his hand. When the last shadow vanished, silence returned. The forest stood still, glowing faintly with the silver energy that lingered in the air. The twins collapsed to their knees, their glow dimming with exhaustion. Daniel rushed forward, dropping his rifle, and caught them in his arms. You are safe, he whispered, his voice shaking. You are safe with me. The boy's voice was weak. We thought we were weak. Daniel held them tighter. You are not weak. You are stronger than anyone I have ever known. The girl opened her eyes, tears of light streaming down her cheeks. Then we can stay? Daniel looked at them, his chest heavy with love and pride. You will always stay. You are mine now. You are family. Luna barked once, her tail wagging, her eyes bright. She pressed her body against the twins, licking their hands as if sealing the promise. The fire in Daniel's heart burned brighter than ever. The shadows had tested them, but together they had stood, and together they had won. The night was no longer filled with fear. It was filled with the strength of a man, a dog, and two children who had discovered their worth. The night was finally quiet. The forest stood still as if holding its breath after the storm of shadows. Moonlight spilled across the ground, soft and gentle, no longer covered by darkness. Daniel knelt in the clearing, the twins held tightly in his arms. Their silver glow was faint now, dimmed by exhaustion, but their hearts still beat steady against his chest. Luna circled close, her fur bristled, her eyes sharp, but her tail wagged slowly as if she knew the danger had passed. The boy raised his head weakly, his voice fragile. We thought we were broken. Daniel looked into his star-filled eyes. His voice came firm, heavy with truth. You are not broken. You are whole. You are stronger than anyone ever told you. The girl clutched his shirt, her glowing tears leaving faint marks on the fabric. We thought no one could ever love us. Daniel pressed his forehead against hers. His voice shook, but it did not falter. I love you. You are mine. You are family. Nothing will take you away from me. The twins trembled, not with fear but with something new. Hope. They had never known it, never felt its weight inside their small bodies. Now it filled them, warming their glow until it flickered like a living flame. Luna barked once, a sound sharp and joyful, breaking the silence of the night. She pressed her nose against the twins, licking their hands until they laughed through their tears. The sound carried through the forest, not weak or broken, but alive and free. Daniel rose to his feet, holding their hands in his. Together, the four of them walked back toward the cabin. The forest did not whisper anymore. It seemed to bow, as if honoring what had been born within its heart. When they reached the cabin, Daniel set more wood on the fire. The flames leapt high, casting warm light across the walls. The twins sat close to Luna, resting their heads on her fur, their silver eyes heavy with sleep. But before closing her eyes, the girl whispered softly, "We are not bad anymore." Daniel knelt beside her, brushing her glowing hair back gently. "You were never bad. You were only waiting for someone to see you." The boy's voice followed, faint but filled with peace. "Then we are home." Daniel felt his heart ache with both sorrow and joy. He kissed their foreheads, his rough hands trembling with tenderness. "Yes. You are home. Forever." The twins closed their eyes, their glow steady and calm. Luna curled protectively around them, her tail resting over their legs. The fire crackled, filling the cabin with warmth. Daniel sat back in his chair, his body weary, but his spirit unshaken. For years, he had lived alone, carrying his own scars in silence. He had believed his world would always remain quiet, empty, untouched. But now, under his roof, there was laughter, there was light, and there was love. He realized the truth in that moment. The gift of humanity was not strength alone, nor was it the fire of survival. It was the ability to choose love even in the face of despair. To give hope where none existed. To stand against the shadows not with power, but with the will to protect. The twins had shown their light. Luna had given her loyalty. But it was the choice to love, the choice to call them family, that had saved them all. Outside, the forest grew quiet again. The stars shone brighter, as if watching over the small cabin. The night that had once brought fear now carried peace. Daniel closed his eyes, letting sleep claim him at last. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. The shadows might return. The past of the twins would not vanish so quickly. But none of that mattered. Because they were no longer alone. They were bound together. A man. A dog. 2 children of starlight. A family born not by blood, but by choice. And as long as they stood together, no darkness in the universe could take that away. The girl stirred in her sleep, whispering words barely heard. "We are not bad. We are home." Daniel's lips curved into a smile as he drifted into rest. His final thought carried through the quiet night. Humanity was more than survival. Humanity was love. And that was the greatest gift of all.